Most people's number one fear is public humiliation, okay? I don't give a fuck anymore. I'm not afraid of it, because I've had plenty. These little heathens with no soul downstairs with horns on their head with a battering ram trying to like beat your walls in. A huge illuminated 666 in red. Yeah. And I went from that to that to that, and he started smiling. And I thought, oh no, Chris Walken is the Antichrist.
I'm Irish American, and never would I pretend to be an African. You needing a history lesson because you forgot where you came from.
After he hurled rocks and racial slurs at black school children.
Some diocese, and he's been covering up for like people who are child molesters.
Yes.
Well, if you kind of go back to what I was most hurt by, or what bothered me the most, even though we didn't have much at all. We had each other.
After years of Mel Gibson being blackballed for exposing the truth behind Hollywood's Antichrist and raging obsession with touching on people, he is back in the news. And this time, he is going in on Mark Wahlberg for selling out to Hollywood. Not too long ago, Mark was jumping from one interview to another, accusing Hollywood of not funding his movies because he was talking about Jesus. He was basically making it sound like he was the next Mel Gibson. Hell, even Mel fell for it and tried to help him out. But guess what? He is now rolling in bed with all these Hollywood executives that he was once calling out. And don't even get me started on his so-called Christian journey, because that is very much in the gutter now. Turns out, he was just using Mel to clean up his raging racist and homophobic past. Now, just for a little bit of context, Mark and Mel got close in the first place because they both identified as devout traditional Catholics. And in a place like Hollywood, where everyone is either a devil worshiper or a flat-out non-believer, this was a pretty big deal for both of them. Mark said he'd always wanted to work with Mel as a director, and was inspired by Mel's highly controversial movie, The Passion of the Christ. And the reason I bring this up is that Passion of Christ was the movie that began Mel's war with Hollywood. He directed, produced, co-wrote, and funded The Passion of the Christ, without support from any major studio. The Anti-Defamation League accused Mel of anti-Semitism. A lot of Jewish leaders, Christians, and major media outlets all came out against it before it was even released. But despite all this, the film ended up pulling in a whopping $612 million at the box office, despite its $45 million budget, all of which came directly from Mel's pocket. And as you can already tell, the studios were pissed off about this, not only because they couldn't get a share of all that money, but also because he made such an impactful Christian movie that goes against everything Hollywood stands for. Even the actor who played the role of Jesus in the movie, Jim Caviezel, said he knew his career was never going to be the same after the film, but he did it anyway.
It was a great movie, but
Yeah.
it seemed like there was resistance to that movie.
Oh yeah, no, there was.
Which I thought was very strange. There was like Hollywood resistance to that movie. Like people didn't like that you were making it. It seemed like.
Yeah, there was a lot of opposition to it.
But this didn't stop Mel. It actually heated him up to expose so much more. And the things he revealed were extremely disturbing, to say the least. A clip recently resurfaced of his now infamous 1998 interview, where he spoke about how he had weird, paranoid suspicions about Hollywood when he arrived. He also said things like, Hollywood is a horror movie town, where newcomers are warned not to ask questions. Even though he didn't explicitly reveal what he meant, people believe it has to do with those ritualistic sacrifices we've been hearing so much about.
When I came over here, I was in my mid-20s.
Right.
The first time I really came over here. You know, I had a whole bunch of weird paranoid suspicions about what the hell was going on, because there was a lot of stuff I couldn't understand.
Right.
And nobody was really bothering to explain it to me.
They don't.
And and I formed a bunch of opinions about the town and about the people in it that were like, surely that couldn't be, because the whole place can't be like, you know, Weird Town, you know, where the stranger wanders in and all the people are in the bar and they all shut up when he looks at them, and and they tell you don't go into the house on the hill, and it's like that. And then you go away and you think, no, I was wrong. I mean, that's insane thinking. I'm paranoid. I imagined that stuff. That couldn't be the reason for why so-and-so was acting like, could it? And then you find out later on the track that you were exactly on track with a lot of this stuff. Not specifically on track, but that you could that some of your worst nightmares were real at the time, and you think, it does rip your life to pieces.
Does it?
If you'll let it.
Yeah.
And it's always pounding at the walls. It's
Yeah.
like these little guys, these little heathens with no soul downstairs with horns on their head with a battering ram trying to like beat your walls in.
And in another disturbing interview, Mel revealed that he actually sat down with the Santa Barbara police during their investigation into Michael Jackson and handed them the names of real people in Hollywood who were allegedly committing the very crimes they were pinning on Michael Jackson. But guess what the police did? Absolutely nothing. They had already made up their minds that Michael was going to be the one to take the fall, and no amount of evidence pointing elsewhere was going to change that. In his own words, "I've told the police. I sat there and I gave them the names. They're on record. They have all of this information." And then he tried to expose the thriving CT networks in Hollywood that allowed people like Epstein, Weinstein, and Diddy to cause as much damage as they did, for as long as they did. But as you can already imagine, he couldn't even do this without Hollywood trying to stop him. He put all this on blast in his 2018 movie, Sound of Freedom, which actually also starred the actor from Passion in Christ, Jim Caviezel. He eventually ended up having to fund himself once again because no studio wanted to pick it up for some reason. At the time, we didn't understand why Hollywood was giving him such a hard time, but looking back now, it all makes sense. You see, the movie was exposing the CT rings in the country and how they operate. And of course, these elites didn't like that because Mel was bringing attention to the exact things they've been doing for years.
One of the most disturbing problems in our world today is human trafficking, and particularly the trafficking of children. Our future is our children. Now, the first step in eradicating this crime is awareness. Go see Sound of Freedom.
But Hollywood didn't end it by just blackballing him. They also tarnished his image by flooding the tabloids with wild accusations against him, so he would lose his support from the public. Just 2 years after the release of the movie, he was arrested on suspicion of drunk driving in Malibu. TMZ reported that he made several problematic remarks to the arresting LA County Sheriff's Deputy James Mee. Now, when it comes to Mel's relationship with Mark, it started in 2017. After that, Mark also decided to go on the same anti-Hollywood campaign as Mel did. The difference between them, though, is that when things got tough, Mark ran back to the industry, unlike Mel, who actually stood 10 toes down and continued to fight back to this day. Mark and Mel actually worked on 3 movies together, including Daddy's Home 2 in 2017, Father Stu in 2022, and Flight Risk in 2025. However, the movie that really got them very close was Father Stu, and that's because, just like Mel's Passion of Christ, Father Stu was also a Christian movie that Mark ended up having to fund himself because Hollywood didn't want to pick it up. For 6 long years, Mark shopped the movie, but every single studio turned him down. Mel also joined in to help Mark make the movie because he saw himself in Mark and felt like whatever Hollywood did to him was exactly what they were now doing to Mark.
I financed it myself.
What?
Yeah. I broke the cardinal rule and paid for it myself.
Why did you do that?
I just felt it was also the best way to make the movie without any kind of interference. We wanted to be completely in control creatively. And once you get somebody else who comes in, obviously their job is to have notes and to try to make changes. And we just wanted to make a very raw, unapologetic movie about a guy in search of his calling.
Anyway, as I said, Mark didn't last very long in his fight against Hollywood like Mel did, because as we speak, he is no longer doing any Christian projects, and he is actually right back to rolling in bed with the exact studios and executives he was going at it with when he was not bending to their rules. A lot of people believe he sold himself out to them because his career was beginning to tank. He even starred in a Netflix movie last year called Good Joe Bell, about a grieving father dealing with his failure to support his gay son. Now, no one is saying he has to be homophobic, but it's definitely unusual to see someone who identifies as a devout Christian in movies about the LGBTQ+ community. Whatever money he was paid was definitely enough for him to put his Christian beliefs on pause. And when people called him out for now working with the same studios he once called out for being against his Christian faith, he doubled down, saying, "I work with Warner Brothers, I work with Sony, I work with Netflix, I work with Disney." Basically, he's telling people that the whole Christian thing was holding him back, and that he is now back to working with anyone and everyone as long as that check is cleared. So as you can see, Mark seems to have been bought, meaning Mel is really one of the few people we have in the industry industry who are truly still staying away from the industry's demonic ways. Some people even said the reason Mark attached himself to Mel is that he wanted people to forget his racist past, and the only way he could convince people he was now a changed man was by working alongside someone like Mel, who has a strong hold on the Christian community. Now, just a little bit of context for those who don't know. In 1986, when Mark was just 15, he and his crew came across a group of younger black students heading back to their bus during a school field trip. His group verbally and physically attacked them, screaming slurs and throwing rocks at them, all because of their skin color. An ambulance driver nearby stopped the attack before it could escalate further. A civil rights injunction was slapped onto his record, meaning he would face jail time if he committed a similar offense again.
Irish American, and never would I pretend to be an African. You needing a history lesson because you forgot where you came from.
But it didn't end there. In fact, it was really just the beginning. In 1988, he was involved in another crime when he got arrested for attacking two Vietnamese men in separate incidents on the same day, jumping one of them until he was unconscious and punching the other in the eye. He was charged while high on PCP, pleaded guilty to felony, and police officers reported that he used slurs to describe both victims. Court documents revealed that Mark attacked one man because he wanted to steal the 2 cans of beer the man was carrying. He then launched a second attack on another man after that man refused to hide him from the police.
It's not just that he had violated it, but the second time was more violent and was towards a different class of individuals, Vietnamese individuals.
He tried to get a pardon for this, but the judge didn't let him off easy. He was charged with attempted murder and served 45 days of a 2-year sentence at Suffolk County's Deer Island House of Correction. After prison, he rebranded as Marky Mark, as a mockery of the rap group Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch. But the rebrand wasn't even to save him. In fact, his aggressive tendencies were still there, and it didn't take long for him to strike again. This time, it wasn't just racism. He now added homophobia to the mix. In 1993, he started a fight with Madonna's entourage after calling one member a homo and punching another in the face, and reportedly breaking the nose of a Maverick Records executive. And remember the iconic 2007 movie Brokeback Mountain? Well, he revealed he was actually offered a role in it, but he turned it down after reading the gay storyline. I met with Ang Lee on that movie. I read 15 pages of the script and got a little creeped out. I didn't rush to see Brokeback. It's just not my deal. His career has never really been the same, and that's when he turned to Christianity to clean up his image. Unfortunately for Mel, he was used. And now, Mark is back to licking the boots of these Hollywood executives. One person reacted to this saying, "Mark Wahlberg is a sellout. Make some more awful movies on Netflix. Sellout." Another person said, "The fact that he was able to become a famous movie star with all the racist past speaks volumes on how Hollywood is and how they don't care that you are racist." But now, I want to know your thoughts. What do you think about Mark getting called out for selling himself to the industry? And do you really think he used Mel to clean up his image just to go right back into the industry? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to click here to watch this other messy video.